Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Mystic Circle, self-titled Mystic Circle, out February 4th on Atomic Fire Records. The album has 9 tracks, 48 minutes in length, and this is the band's 8th full-length studio album. They are a German melodic black death metal band. It's been nearly 2 decades since they released an album, even longer since these two guys have worked together, and you can feel the aggression on this album had been brewing for a very long time. Now, the way they put this record together feels very simple to the listener. This is an album that's easy to digest, easy to engage with, and stay connected throughout the entire experience. They built a record that offers a sense of continuity from song to song, keeping a lot of the same elements alive and well, moving them from track to track, and at the same time infusing these songs with a sense of uniqueness so that the tracks don't feel stagnant, the album doesn't sound repetitive, and it doesn't pause, it doesn't break. This is a constant movement style record. From the time you press play until it's finished, you're on this journey, you're on this ride, and you're not going to get off of it until the album tells you so, until the album ends. So having a structure that enhances this mobility, that enhances this playability, that enhances the sound and atmosphere is a winning formula when you try to put a record together that has a lot of variety, but at the same time you want it to be as balanced as possible. Once you move into the soundscape, they were able to create a record that, while driven, while penetrating, while dark, it's not flat. This is not a gritty sounding album that feels devoid of emotion, that feels devoid of life. There is darkness, but there's also life in that darkness. You just have to find it. It's an album that has a robust soundscape, a robust footprint. It feels big. And in that big sound, it's really what carries the heaviness and carries a lot of the aggression and intensity that this album has. So without having to make the record necessarily heavy and driven, they were able to combine both and keep the life and the energy of this album alive and well, expanding, contracting, depending on where you are, on which song you're sitting on. The record always has movement. It has movement within it, and it propels the listener forward. Now, an element of the atmosphere that I thought was really interesting was the melodic side of the sound. The melodic side of the sound has a positive impact in the overall atmosphere of the record. It's not the only one, but it's one of those that defines it. When you listen to this record, you start to see different shades of gray. A lot of the ebbs and flows of the album are defined by those shades. And what's defining those shades, by vast majority of the time, is the melodic side of the sound. It's not the driven, the gritty, the heavy, the aggressive, the intensive side. That one plays a role in the atmosphere, but not much of a direct role. The more direct approach as far as the atmosphere, sound, crossover, impact is concerned is definitely the melodic side, and I really enjoy that experience because once again, it gives texture to the record, it makes the album feel bigger, feel brighter, feel more robust. The other element that impacts the atmosphere is the external elements that they added. Things like crow sounds or church bells. This is really interesting because it doesn't have necessarily this impact that defines the entire album. But when you're listening to it, it's almost so well blended in with the overall soundscape that it goes unnoticed. You almost have to go back to the track, listening to it again, and then you start to see that atmosphere, those different shades of gray are also being defined not just by the melodic side of the record, not just by the melodic sound, but also by these external elements that help you paint a much vivid picture. It's a lot easier for you to understand what the songs are about, what the lyrical content is all about, when the soundscape and the atmosphere starts to draw out these images, these shapes, and you start to understand it better, and therefore you're going to connect with the album a lot better. And I also like the fact that while having an impact in the atmosphere, like I said earlier, it doesn't drive the experience and it doesn't necessarily feel in your face. Really well blended in as one of the layers of the overall album. Now, as far as the sound goes, you have to break it down into the drums and guitars. I really like the drums on this record. One of the reasons why you have this robust experience, this big sound, is definitely because of the drums. They're not just grounding the record, they're creating heaviness, they're creating volume, and they don't have a constant approach. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to get a one-size-fits-all from beginning all the way to the end. Having said that, they also don't deviate that much. So they stay close together, they stay on their path. Every so often they take a few steps off of that path, but they always find a way to come back to it again. And this allows the record to have this sense of motion, contracting, expanding, offering some diversity, but not too much diversity from an element that really has to keep the record together. Now, on the other hand, the guitars have a lot more of an eclectic approach or a diverse approach. I don't want to really call it eclectic because it's not, but it's more diverse. The shades of gray that you're going to get throughout this album in terms of what the atmosphere is asking the sound to do is really driven by the guitars. They push the direction of these songs. They tell the listener where you need to go and how fast you're going to get there. So it's a very interesting approach. The guitar solos are phenomenal throughout the entire record. They always feel extra dark because in the mix they sound a little bit deeper, or they sound a little bit detached from the reality of the song. And that creates a positive impact because it adds to that darkness. It helps define the shapes of the track, and it helps define the atmosphere that surrounds those shapes. So I really enjoyed the guitar sound all around, but the guitar solos were just phenomenal. Now the vocals have consistency from beginning to end, a little bit of the glue that holds all of these moving pieces together. And you needed something. You need something that you can gravitate to, that you know it's going to be a constant, it's going to be there for you, it's going to hold your hand from the beginning all the way to the end, working a little bit as a narrator, almost telling you what path to follow and what the stories are about. And that's exactly what you're going to get from the vocals. Perfect tone, perfect delivery, the perfect level of intensity and aggression to go with the overall soundscape. Now, this album, in my opinion, is a statement. First of all, it's a self-titled record, 8th album after such a long hiatus. On that alone, you feel like the record itself becomes a statement. But the sound on this album, the way it's put together, how crafty this record sounds and how crafty it comes across with all of these different layers and still offering a sense of simplicity, it really showcases that this band did the right thing by coming back together and releasing an album. The genre needs more bands like these. The genre needs more albums that have this sound, and this band is doing something that needed to be done. It doesn't feel like just another release. It feels like an album that adds value to the metal scene, to the metal genre, and then obviously to the band's own discography. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Seven-Headed Dragon. Driven, dark, an atmospheric song. The vocals define a little bit of what that atmosphere is all about, guiding the listener throughout the experience of the track. The song becomes very direct. It has a very direct approach, but it also breaks with some melodic moments. So it's direct but dynamic at the same time. It doesn't stay flatline. It moves up and down, but it always pushes the listener forward. That's why it has that sense of direction. It has a little bit of a heartbeat in it when you look at the movement that it has between the more driven moments and then the slower down portions of the track. This allows you to feel that heartbeat within the song itself. It has energy, and then it has ripping guitars and thunderous drums. Those become the true trademarks as far as sound is concerned, making the song robust, making the song complete all around. Next you have Darkness in Flames. Very melodic track. It packs a lot of melody, not all at the same time and not constantly throughout the entire existence of the song. It has moments, but the melodic side of the track is where you're going to find the atmosphere. The atmosphere, the somber darkness, those shades of gray, those shades of darkness really exist in this song in that melodic side of the track, and that helps weave in then some heaviness, some brutality, and some aggression once you start to move into the more direct, the more punchy approach that this track has. You feel like you're walking down these dark hallways. The vocalist is guiding you through those hallways, and then every single door offers a different experience and offers something else, and that is the little bit of the life that this song has in the progression that it offers. And when you open those doors, you get hit with that melodic side, and that darkness comes to light, and that atmosphere becomes almost palpable. The solo on this track is also phenomenal. I really feel like it completes the song. It adds value to the track. It doesn't have as much of an impact in the atmosphere of the song, but it has an impact in the sonic perspective that you get from the overall track. Without the solo being the way it is, where it is within the track itself, the song would feel perhaps a little bit flattened. It would feel devoided of life, and that was an important element in order to make the track more cohesive and more consistent. Last but not least, Satanic Mistress. I really enjoyed this track because it offers a little bit of a mixture of everything we've seen throughout the entire existence of the album. This record is really the perfect conclusion, unless you have the bonus track that comes right after. This is the 8th track. There's a bonus track as a 9th track. But this song has a sense of bringing it all together. All the pieces of this puzzle come together in this song. All the elements. The melodic side, the more driven, the darkness, the different shades of darkness, all the texture, the heaviness, the brutality, the expanding of the footprint, making it dynamic, stopping it a little bit. Everything that you saw throughout the entire record comes together in a single song, and that's what makes Satanic Mistress really jump out, because as you reach the end of the album, you feel like this really wraps it all around. It gives you a sense of completion to the overall experience that the album offered. This is it, Mystic Circle out February 4th on Atomic Fire Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.